This is the Seaoura SR-628 in the 18 to 25 inch size. This is a fully programmable WRGB plant light for aquariums with a 24/7 daylight cycle that you can modify all kinds of parameters on. And then on top of that, it's got the usual 7-color RGB as well as your usual timer, and then it also has a cloudy, sunset, and storm setting, which is interesting. If you are somewhere that uses 24-hour format time instead of 12-hour, you just press this setting pinwheel and that immediately changes it. All of the programming is done through this very intuitive little touch capacitive screen right here. Works great. Honestly, I don't have any issues with it. If your hands are wet, it might cause issues. And as for the different modes, there are basically three levels of customization for the 24/7 daylight cycle. There is S1, as you can see right there, which just lets you set the time for the daylight, and then when that turns off, and then you can adjust the colors of each in there, I'm pretty sure. If you hold down the settings button when you're in one of these, that's how you actually modify the parameters. And you press it once more, and this is when it turns on. And then the brightness of each of and so you can modify each color of the WRGB. So there's white, red, blue, and green. It goes RBG in this for some reason. And then you can adjust that with the arrow buttons. And then press the settings once more, and it goes to the off time. And right now I have it on the normal daylight cycle anyway, but you press the settings once more to save that parameter. And so I showed you the first mode. That's the daylight timer. Press it once more. That's the moonlight timer, so you can choose when that turns on and when it turns off, and the brightness and color parameters. You use that one as well. This is the setting that I use. This is the more kind of automated one. On this one, it allows you to change the times of each of them. However, you cannot change the color. The color and the brightness are preset for each, and that is fine. Basically, the L settings are which. So this is the sunrise time, so it turns on at 11 a.m., off at 11:30 a.m., and then you cycle through those with the settings button. And as you can see, it just jumps straight to the next one. This is the amount of daylight that you have. And so you can see the 11:30 jumped over to there. So the daylight fades on at around 11:30 a.m. and then off for me at 11:45 p.m. And yeah, as you can see, if you wait for a second, it goes back to the main screen. It's worth mentioning too, on all of the settings, around all of the three different levels of customization, there is a 15-minute fade between each. So it doesn't suddenly change, which is really nice. It's really subtle, and I personally don't notice it changing at all. Looking at the manual on this specific setting, the initial daylight and moonlight timers, this one actually takes a half hour to fade on to full moonlight brightness instead of 15 minutes between transitions like the usual daylight one does. So back on this S2 one, basically this one allows you to go through each of the times and modify the times quite a bit. As you can see there, you can do sunrise, daylight, sunset, and moonlight, and adjust the time of each of those, and there's a 15-minute fade between each, and then it shows you the off time as well. And then now we're on the do-it-yourself mode, and this one has quite a lot of settings. You can change the parameters of each and every one of those, on the brightness and the amount of time that it has on there. And so lots of cycling through these and changing parameters. So you can see the very first mode, I guess this would be the sunrise mode. You can change the brightness, and it actually gives you an example too. It shows you on the light itself what the brightness is, so you can see what you're actually changing. And then if you want to cycle to the red and the blue and the green, just press the color wheel right there, and then press the settings once more. And that's do-it-yourself one, so you can turn the off time of that one. And then once you set the off time of that one, it should cycle to the next one. So yeah, see the 8 a.m. jumped over there. And now you can have either that one be off or on, apparently. And change the time that it turns off, and the next mode turns, which is fades to on or whatever. And again, the color parameters for each of those. And then, yeah, basically, and you go through all 8 of those to set that. If you really want to modify absolutely everything, that is a bit much for me, but it is really cool. The manual also tells you what the preset brightness levels are of each of the 8 do-it-yourself lighting timers, whatever you want to call that. So that's nice if you just want to read those and kind of get a general idea of what they're going to look like. And now that those are out of the way, we've got the RGB lighting modes. The manual says there's 9 9 colors you can choose from. So there's plain red, plain green, blue. Sometimes you first press the touchscreen a little bit harder than usual. Red and blue. And then this one looks like it might be the one that slowly fades. I don't really know if you can adjust the speed at which it does this. It does seem to be very slowly fading, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, it is slowly turning blue. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but so that's nice. I do like an RGB color fade that actually transitions really slowly and is not something that you can actually notice unless you're paying really close attention. So that's pretty neat, I guess, if you're into that for your fish. And then finally after that, it goes back to just the plain 100% brightness WRGB. Another little interesting feature that this has is the weather mode. And so it's got sunrise, this lightning storm one. It's pretty interesting. And then it's just got cloudy, and then back to sunrise. And then, and another thing with this, apparently, in the do-it-yourself mode, you can have various weathers as an option, and have like an hour when there's a lightning storm during your daylight cycle, which is interesting. For the sunrise and sunset mode, they actually fade on or fade off very slowly from like orange to 100% brightness. I don't know if I'll do that, but pretty interesting. Pretty cool too that you can have it kind of like slowly fade to being a lightning storm for a half an hour and then go back to normal or something. Pretty clever, honestly. That's really, really neat, the amount of features this has and the parameters that you can modify. Something else worth mentioning is that the from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., this little intuitive LCD screen right here, that actually gets dimmer, that dims itself. It doesn't stay bright like it is right now. It only stays bright like this during the daytime, but at nighttime, if you, it only gets lighter if you press a button, and then if you ignore it or don't do anything for 3 minutes, then it goes to a nice dim mode. Yeah, this light is honestly, it is amazing. It's so nice. It's really well built, easy to assemble, relatively easy to program once you figure it out, but very, very intuitive, and it has seriously brought out the colors in my fish. Not that there is much, but I never realized there was some like metallic blues in my convex cichlid I have in here. And he's a male cichlid, so he's not as colorful as females, unfortunately, but there's colors in him that I see now that I did not know were there, so that's really cool, especially also with the plants and stuff and whatnot. Like, there's a lot of tannins in my tank from that driftwood, and so I do pretty regular water changes. But even with this light on, the plants look greener, they look happier. It's only been on there a few days. The cichlid seems a bit more active as well, so that's pretty cool. I'm feeding him right now, so he'll actually come out, but usually he's kind of hiding. And then I also have some inch plants and a pothos up there. Yeah, highly recommend this. I am really looking forward to better plant growth. I just have some kind of aqua soil stuff below the dirt here, but not much. It's a pretty low-tech planted setup. I'm really surprised these crypts are even growing, especially with the gardening that cichlid does quite often. Yeah, really hoping that this helps my plants grow and flourish in an otherwise very low-tech planted tank. And I have a feeling it will. So far, it's definitely has already improved stuff a bit. So yeah, would absolutely recommend.